Hello, I'm Dr. Vigare Panchal, an occupational therapist. So in this video, we'll be discussing about femur fracture. And this is part one of the video. So to get more videos, stay tuned. Thank you.
So in this course we'll be talking about femur fractures, and that is a broken thigh bone. So just this first slide is mainly for the introductory slides basically for you. So the femur shaft fractures basically your thigh bone femur, that is the longest bone and the strongest bone in the body. So because the femur is so strong, it usually takes a lot of force to break it. Motor vehicle collision, for example, are the number one cause of the femur fracture, because femur fracture is, as I mentioned, that's the strongest and the biggest bone though. So it requires a larger force to cause any damage in that area. So the long straight part of the femur is also called as shaft basically. And so when this breaks anywhere along this length of the bone, it is called as a femur shaft fracture in the shaft. And this is what I have shown is not the shaft basically, is the near the head and neck area. So this type of broken leg almost always requires a surgery to heal. So if we say that this that the, sh- the there are types of shaft fracture basically, depends on its location. So as in here you can see the shaft, which I have mentioned here. So where the fracture it can cause, that is femoral shaft fracture over here. There is a fracture at the neck, that is femoral neck fracture, and like that we can divide. But the further we'll like to discuss the other things, that is the pieces of the bones. So the femur shaft varies greatly depending on the force that causes the breaks. So that's why the pieces of the bone may line up correctly, so that is stable fracture, or may be out of the alignment, that is displaced fracture. So the skin around the fracture may be intact, that is closed fracture, or the bone may puncture the skin and open and may be visible, so that causes an open fracture. For first one was closed, and the skin is not teared up, but when the skin is punctured by the fracture fragments of the bone, that is called open fracture. So, so as such, the doctors describe the features of each other using classification system. There is femur fracture, which are classified depending on the location of the fracture. That is, a femoral shaft fracture is divided into three. That is distal, middle, and proximal. Further, the pattern of fracture. For example, the bone can break in different directions, such as crosswise, lengthwise, or in the middle. Okay, crosswise, lengthwise, or in the middle. And the third is whether the skin and muscle over the bone is torn by the injury. So that forms the types of the fracture. So if you see that the most types of femoral shaft fractures will include transverse fracture, oblique fracture, spiral fracture, comminuted fracture, open fracture. And if I like to describe this thing, so let me tell in detail that the transverse fracture, as the name suggests, it makes a horizontal line. So the thing is the straight horizontal line. So the bone breaks into two. So basically in this type of fracture, the break is in the straight horizontal line going across the femoral shaft. One is oblique fracture. So this type of fracture has an angled line across the shaft, as you can see here at the image. And spiral fracture, that is a fracture line encircles the shaft like the strips on a candy can. So the twisting force to the thigh causes this type of fracture. This happens because of twisting. We also have to understand the mechanism. I'll be talking it further in the next slides. So the mechanisms can be different as is shown here. And there are another type, that is comminuted fracture. So here it's the broken into three or more pieces basically. So in this type of fracture, the bone has broken into three or more pieces. In most cases, the number of bone fragments corresponds with the amount of force needed to break the to break the bone. And then we'll discuss about open fracture. So if a bone breaks in such a way that bone fragments stick out through the skin, or a wound penetrates down to the broken bone, the fracture is called as an open or compound fracture. So the open fractures often involve much more damage to the surrounding muscles, tendons, and ligaments, because obviously when the bone is broken down, it penetrates upside. So and whatever comes in between gets damaged. So they have a higher risk of complications. That's why. So here the especially you can the person can have the infections, and also takes a longer time in healing. Further, there are certain causes which is to be discussed. That is, femoral shaft fracture in young people are frequently due to some type of high energy collision, or the most common cause of femoral fracture, which is the motor vehicle or bike accidents or crash accident, or being hit by a car while walking, is another common cause. And as are falls from the heights and even the gunshot wounds. Also, a lower force incident such as a fall from a standing may cause a femoral shaft fracture in an older person who has weaker bones basically. Further, you can see that in symptoms, if we talk that the femoral shaft fracture usually causes immediate severe pain. Okay, there is the longest bone of the body and the biggest one though. So there is a severe pain, and the person will not be able to put weight on the injured leg immediately, and it may look deformed, shorter than the other leg, and no longer straight. In so when this kind of fracture occurs, so there is a initial medical examination and a history and physical examination to be conducted for the patient. So it is important that the doctor know the specifics of how the leg is hurt. I'll just give you an example that if you are in a car accident, or the if you had a femur fracture in a car accident, so then it would help your doctor to know how fast you were going. So whether you were the driver or the passenger, whether you were wearing the seat belt, if the airbags went off. So this information will help the doctor to determine how you were hurt and whether you may be hurt somewhere else. So it is important for the doctor to know if you have any other health conditions such as high blood pressure or diabetes or asthma or even any kind of allergies. And also the doctor will ask about the certain use of the uh, uh, inappropriate habits like use of tobacco products or taking any other kind of medications. So after discussing the injury and the medical history, the careful examination will begin. And in this there is overall assessment of the overall condition, which focuses on the leg and the other thing, that is means any kind of obvious deformity of the thigh, leg, or unusual angle twisting, shortening of the leg, or breaks in the skin, bruises, bony pieces that may be pushing on the skin. So this all differences, this all kind of physical examination is very much vital at the initial point when you keep on a check for the individual. Also, after the visual inspection, it is important to do a physical examination, a physical inspection, in which it is to feel along the thigh, leg, and foot, looking for any abnormalities or checking the tightness of skin or muscles around the thigh, and also to feel any kind of pulses and any kind of sensation of test movement in the leg or in the foot. There are certain imaging tests to be considered like x-rays, because the most common way to evaluate fracture is x-rays, so which provides a clear image of a bone. An x-ray can show whether a bone is intact or broken. They can also show some type of fracture, means they can also show that which kind of or which type of fracture it is occurred, and where it is located within the. As you can see the image of the broken femur, this is a full transverse fracture, and there is also displacement of the bone from its normal alignment. So this if goes further, it can also penetrate the skin and the bone can be coming out of it. Also CT scan can be done. So if the doctor still needs to needs to gain more information about reviewing the x-rays, then they can go for CT scan further. So a CT scan will show a cross section image of a limb, and it can provide the doctor with a valuable information about the severity of the fracture. So that is, for example, sometimes the fracture lines can be very thin and hard, to see in X-ray, because there are certain, because some lines you may be not visible in the X-ray, so they go for CT scan for the further uh, detailing. Thus, as the fracture lines can be very thin, and a CT scan can help also to see more with more clarity, and that's how these things are to be carried out in the case of femoral fracture. So if you see that in this femur fracture, as I also mentioned before, there are certain types like proximal femur fractures, that is at subtrochanteric fracture or salient features about femur fracture. Also, fracture of distal femur and fracture of shaft of femur. Fracture of distal femur is about supracondylar fracture of the femur, ipsilateral fractures of the femoral shaft and neck also. So, in the proximal femur fractures, if you see that there is subtrochanteric fracture, which is also defined as an area between the lesser trochanter and a 0.5 centimeter distal to it. So, subtrochanteric fracture is a difficult fracture due to the problems like malunion, delayed uh, union or non-union, or even shortening or angular deformity or rational malalignment and further. So, this image you can see here, and in between the upper image, and also the fracture through the cortical bone, large biomechanical stress at the fracture site can result in implant fracture as well. Also, there are certain mechanisms, as you can see here, that is the it is usually due to direct trauma or due to road traffic accident or even fall, and in common in young individuals. So it can be broadly considered under this following headings, that is stable fracture and unstable fracture. So stable fracture is nothing but an intact or possible to re-establish bone-to-bone contact of the medial and posterior femoral cortex anatomically, and in unstable fracture, there is posterior medial cortex apposition in which is not obtainable. So that's how this is divided particularly. And further, let's discuss about the femoral fracture in the next slide. So in the next slide, I'll be talking also about certain classifications and certain treatment approaches used for it. So before going to the next slide, I'd like to just talk about the Fielding's classification. That is, you can see in this image, which is 1, 2, 3, as you can see the Fielding's classification. So it's based on a distance at or below the lesser trochanter actually. So in this there are three types. So type 1 is the fracture at a level of the lesser trochanter. Type 2 is the fracture 1 inch below the lesser trochanter, and type 3 is the fracture 2 inch below the lesser trochanter. So this is how the classification is done. 1 inch below the lesser trochanter, 2 inch below the lesser trochanter, and 3 inch below the lesser trochanter. So like that you can divide it into type 1, 2 and 3. And here you have other classifications as well, like Shanshmere varieties of subtrochanteric fractures of the femur. So here there is another classification based on the number of major fragments and their location and type of fracture lines. So you have five types in it. So basically there's a type 1 which is undisplaced fracture. Type 2 is two-part fracture. Type 3 is three-part fracture with A and B in it. That is, A is lesser trochanter in third fragment and B is butterfly fragment in the third part. Also, you have type 4, that is four-part fracture, and type 5 is subtrochanteric comminuted fracture with intertrochanteric extension. Also, there is Russell-Taylor classification, which you can see in this image which I have shown here. So this again has certain types in it. So basically, this is based on the involvement of the subtrochanteric fracture with piriformis fossa. Okay. So here there are two types basically in this. So the subtrochanteric fracture does not extend into the piriformis fossa, that is type 1, and in type 2 the fracture extends proximally into the greater trochanter and extends into the piriformis fossa. So this is how the different varieties are there. So the which I told is actually, sorry, not in the picture, but this is but this Shanshmere classification is here in the image which I have shown. So this I'll just repeat again, the Russell-Taylor classification, that is type 1 and type 2. You can image see here, subtrochanteric fracture does not extend into the piriformis, and other does extends into the piriformis. So also you see that there are certain clinical features, that is the patient represents with pain, swelling, shortening, complete external rotation, deformity, and other usual features of the fracture. There are certain radiographs which I also mentioned in the previous slide, but I'll be showing in another slide the radiographs and the how the imaging and it looks uh, uh, like in the other form. Treatment also I'll be talking in a brief in later slides, but just I'll mention here that is there are non-surgical treatment and there is surgical treatment as well. So in non-surgical treatment, the most femoral shaft fracture requires surgery to heal. Whether it is very unusual that for a female shaft fracture to be treated without surgery. Very young children are sometimes treated with a cast, and that actually happens in it. So basically, for the children, they are treated non-surgically is the thigh bone fracture, femur fractures in children again. So as it is the largest and strongest bone in the body, so it can break when a child experiences sudden forceful impact. So the causes basically it is said that the most common cause of the thigh bone fracture in the infants and under 1 year old is child abuse, and child abuse is also a leading cause of thigh bone fracture in children between the ages of 1 and 4 years. But the incidence is much less in this age group. So this is a different. I'll just talk in brief about the children having a thigh bone fracture. So in this slide, so in adolescence also motor vehicle accidents either by cars or bicycles or as a pedestrian are responsible for vast majority of the femoral shaft fractures. So the risk over here is again the events with the highest risk of pediatric femur fracture, which include falling hard on a playground or taking a height in contact sports, or being in a motor vehicle accident, or even child abuse, as I mentioned before. So over here, the femur fractures vary greatly. So the piece of bone may be aligned correctly straight or out of the alignment displaced, and the fracture may be closed, that is skin contact, or open, that is bone piercing through the skin. So an open fracture is rare basically. Also, specifically, the thigh bone fractures are classified depending on the location of the fracture of the bone proximal middle. This I also mentioned in the previous slide, but I'll just repeat it again for you. That is like maybe location of the fracture of the bone proximal middle distal to the bone shaft. Shape of the fracture ends, that is bones can break all kinds of way, that is even straight across, that is transverse, angle, that is oblique, or spiral, that is spiral, and position of the fracture edges, that is angulated or displaced. So the number of fractures, that is two parts, and several fracture parts, that is comminuted. So also, so as in the image you can see that there is on the left image, it is an oblique displaced fracture of the femur of the shaft. On the right side is a comminuted fracture of the femur shaft. Symptoms: a thigh bone fracture is a serious injury and may cause an obvious that the thigh bone is a in fracture in children, because in children will have a severe pain. The thigh is noticeably swollen or deformed. A child is unable to stand or walk, or and there is a limited range of motion of the hip or knee allowed by a child because of the pain. So also so at this point it is important to take the child to the emergency right away with injured limb, uh, injured femur. Also in the examination, again it is important to know the cause of the injury which has occurred, and the child or any kind of disease maybe or other trauma before it happened, and also to give a pain relief to the child at the initial points. The pain relief medications are given, and careful examination of the leg is done, because see to examine an adult or a child is very much different, though they are having the same kind of condition, because an adult will cooperate in a different manner, the child will cooperate in a very different manner. So that is very important to understand at this point. So a child will always be not that cooperative, and he will not have that pain tolerance capacity as an adult have. So because of that, it is very difficult to examine physically and to go through to the injured limb area. So because it is important to palpate also to know any kind of extra pieces or any community fracture is there or not, including the hip and the knee as well. So a child with a thigh bone fracture should always be evaluated for other serious injuries as well, because he may be having pain also because of the other injuries which are occurred through. Also in the imaging test, X-ray is to be taken and to know the actual condition of the child. So X-ray to check any damage to the growth area, growth plate, or near the end of the, because in child the growth plate is still in a growing phase. So it is also important to know that area as well, because in adult you won't go for it, but in child it is very important to consider that part. And this is the part that enables the child to, which enables the child's bone to grow, and if needed, surgery may help to restore the growth plate's function, and regular X-rays may be taken for months to track the bone's growth as well, because you just cannot leave out the child after treating because of this growth plate uh, considerations. In treatment also for the child, to treat the child with the thigh bone fracture, the pieces of the bone are aligned and held in place and held in place for healing. So treatment depends on the many factors such as the child's age and weight, and the type of fracture, how the injury happened, and whether the broken bone pierced the skin. So this treatment which I am showing is different for child and different for adult. So here I will just briefing out the child's how the recovery takes place in a child. So as I mentioned, non-surgical treatment. So in some thigh bone fractures, the doctor may be able to manipulate the broken bones back into the pieces without any operation. That is close reduction. And in a baby under 6 months old, brace or called a Paulic harness may be able to hold the broken bone still enough to for successful healing. So spica casting in a children below between 7 months and 5 years old. Spica cast is often applied to keep the fracture pieces in correct position until the thigh bone is healed. So there are different types of spica cast, but in general, a spica cast begins at the chest and extends all the way down to the fractured leg. So the cast may also extend down the uninjured leg, or stop at the knee or hip. So that decides. So doctor actually decides which type of spica cast is most effective for treating the child's fracture, because you can see the image how it is extending to the non-affected leg as well. And here it is the doctor will sedate the child for the close reduction and apply a spica cast immediately after within 24 hours of hospitalization, to keep the fracture pieces in correct position until healing occurs, because see the child has a tendency to move the leg and he won't follow the instruction as firmly as an adult will do. So that's why it is important to know the forms and to know the age of the patient and everything. So here, when a bone breaks and is displaced, the pieces often overlap and shorten the normal length of the bone. So because the children's bones grow quickly, so the doctor may need to manipulate the pieces back into perfect alignment. And while in the cast, the bones will grow and heal back into a more normal shape. So in general, for the best results, the broken pieces should not overlap more than 2 centimeters when in the cast, and the growth of the thigh bone may be temporarily increased by the trauma. So the mild shortening from the overlap will resolve. So that's how it actually forms in a particular way. And traction is also important thing to consider, because if the shortening of the bone is too much, more than 3 centimeters, or if the bone is too crooked in the cast, it may be helpful to put the leg in a weight and counterweight system, that is traction, to make sure that the bones are properly aligned. So as you can see the image, that the thigh bone fracture before and immediate after the treatment with the spica cast. So the femur will remodel over time so that it appears normal. So here you can see the image in the which beside that child, which is in blue. So on the right side you can see the image which shows both of it, and also the treatment component of this. I'll be discussing in the next slides or the next course about the treatment that is conservative or surgical, and also the treatment which goes for the child and it goes for the adult. And also further we'll be discussing the internailing techniques which are being used over here, complications, the salient features about the femur, then the femur shaft fracture, and also the distal and the proximal components of this kind of fractures, and certain interlocking nailing techniques, and distal femur fracture as I mentioned, also types of distal femur fracture and further. So that I'll be discussing with you in the next course.